Ooh, doggy, what is going on, beautiful people? I hope and pray that you all are doing phenomenally well. So I'm super excited, extremely excited, actually, to have a new friend of mine, a buddy, an incredible businessman, entrepreneur, philanthropist, uh, man of God, father, husband. Man, the list goes on, right? Alex Perdeau here. Um, yeah, just sharing some of his real estate experience and knowledge with us, brother. Thank you so much for being here.
Man, I don't know that I can live up to that intro, but I'm grateful to be here with you, man. I feel like I've known you for years, and you and I recently met at a mastermind that we're a part of. So it was awesome to have you on my show, and grateful to pour into the opportunity to pour into your folks and your audience.
No, we are again, brother. It's an honor. It's an absolutely honor to have you here. I mean that, y'all. And I gave him that big introduction. I'll tell y'all how much he lives up to this. So he got started, and I don't want to spoil it for you, but what, over 750 transactions, fixing and flipping when you started in 2005. Then you transition over to storage units, which I'm actually really excited to pick your brain about. This is
Good.
supposed to be for the audience, but it's kind of going to be for me too.
I get it, man. Yeah.
Owning multiple storage facilities, totaling what, over 830 units or something extreme like that. So, no, you live up to it and then some.
No, thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, no, look, I'm an open book, so we can take this conversation in whatever way God guides it. So I'm just very open to that. So you tell me.
Ooh, dog. Well, let's go, brother. Well, I'll say share a little bit of your story. I mentioned you started back in 2005, right?
Right. That's right. Yeah. So I'll give you I'll try to give you the modified short version of it, and then you feel free to interrupt me and jump in and ask any follow-ups. But you know, I'm so blessed that I was born into a family that, man, loved on me, provided for me. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. My family, middle class family from Cuba. But I also don't have this like crazy rags to riches story where I like grew up in like, in poverty or anything like that. Just middle class family. And one of the things my family did, aside from provide for me, is instill the right faith in me, right? And that's always been very important to me. What I will say is my parents had that middle class mentality of like, work hard and study and get an education and then go get a job, right? And so that's what I did. But I remember when I was around 10, 11, 12 years old, I was big into sports. God didn't bless me with a lot of height and size or anything like that. So I was a pretty good baseball player, and I grew up in the park. And I remember buying baseball cards for like 50 cents, $1 a pack, and then essentially flipping them for like $1.50 or $2. And I really like the taste of buying low and selling high. So like
Nice.
that gene was always in me. But I went out, I went to college and I graduated, and something about kind of being like a big dog in one of these companies, like a CFO, CEO, like for whatever reason, it's probably ego driven. That appealed to me. And then I went out and I got a job with General Electric in their financial management program. And man, 2 or 3 months into that job, I'm like, yep, this is not for me. I remember averaging 70, 75 hours a week in front of Excel and PowerPoint. And I'm like, I wasn't very good at a lot of things back then. And I'm still not, but I was always pretty good at getting clarity about what I wanted, and then like figuring out how to reverse engineer my way to that point. And I specifically remember looking at my boss and her boss and all the way up like to the CFO. And I'm like, I don't care how many their 7-figure salary and comp package and all that. Like, I don't want this life. I want to go do my own thing. So I left that job. I started backpacking around Europe. So we visited like 53 cities in 22 countries in 3.5 months. And I mentioned that because I was on the Eurorail going from city to city. And on the train is when I started to immerse myself in personal development and real estate books. So I probably consumed, I don't know, 5 or 6 books in that 3.5 months. And that completely shifted my mindset to the point that I was in an internet cafe in Ibiza, and a friend of mine had sent me an email. Now, keep in mind, this is 2005. I was probably paying like 3 or 5 euros like every 5 or 10 minutes, and I didn't have any money, dude. I was funding this whole thing on my credit card,
Yeah.
and a buddy of mine was inviting me to a marketing for deals boot camp happening in Atlanta, and this was October of '05. Only problem was, Clifford, it was $997, and I didn't have that money. But for me, the pain of moving back to Miami, back in with my parents, by the way, at 25,
Yeah.
and then going out and getting a job, like that pain was greater than the uncertainty of going out and like seeing if I could do this thing myself. So I went to this event. I got home. I literally like pulled out a pre-foreclosure letter that came in the 3-ring binder. I specifically remember driving to Kinko's, making like 300 or 400 photocopies.
The young people might not even know what Kinko's is. Is that
Hey,
still
it's a
around?
place where you get like you get printouts and photocopies. Yeah, I guess it's FedEx Kinko's now, or is it just FedEx? I don't even know.
I don't know anymore.
Well, so I went to like a place that does copies, right? Like think of copy machines. And I sent out my first direct mail campaign to a list that I had purchased at that event. And my direct mail campaign was photocopies of a pre-foreclosure letter that had like the 3 black holes from the photocopy. Like that's how ghetto it was. And I just sent it out. And I specifically remember getting phone calls of people that were behind on payments. And I felt like an imposter. I'm like, who am I at 25 years old? I had never even bought a house at that point, right? I was living with my parents. I'm like, who am I to like help these people that are in pre-foreclosure? Fortunately, like, again, the pain of like going out and getting a job, and like, I genuinely wanted to do something for myself. And so I was committed. I said, I'm going to figure this out. And a little less than 2.5, 3 months later, I ended up closing on my first deal, which was a short sale. And I made $44,000. Now I ended up bringing a friend of mine into the deal. So we split that 44 grand. But for me, it was like more than enough proof of concept.
Yeah, that's 100. That's amazing. That's incredible. And a couple of things that I want to kind of rewind on and touch on that you hit on. Number one, I appreciate the fact that you said you didn't have this horrific, terrific childhood growing up. I almost feel like the whole self-help industry, so to speak, there's almost like people are highlighting the rags to riches in a sense to where, well, if I didn't go through this extreme adversity, then I won't make it. Now, it is nice when those people overcome those things, and I'm not trying to take anything from them, but that's not everybody's reality, right? A lot of people didn't have those traumatic events happen in their life. Well, if you didn't, that's okay. Like, let's praise God, let's thank God, and just know that, okay, you can still be successful. You don't have to have an awful background.
Man, I've done a lot of podcasts, and I've had the opportunity to speak, and I've shared that story a lot. And I don't think I've ever had anybody reflect back to me what you just did. And it's so true. I remember at one point questioning the value of my story because I didn't have a rags to riches story. Right. And you hear people that like really deal with like severe trauma and adversity. And it's at one point, man, I would like dim my light years ago. I've grown beyond this, but I would dim my light and not share my story because I didn't feel like my story was worthy enough, quote unquote. And then I realized that that's just BS. Like, this is my story. This is my truth, and share it. So whether you do have a rags to riches story, or you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth and you came from a wealthy family, or you're somewhere in the middle class, it's fine. That's your story. So like lean into that and share it.
Exactly, 100%. And so, yeah, I just wanted to recap that because I've kind of noticed that. And I think that's amazing. I think we need to highlight more of that, that you don't have to have, again, this awful background. And then funny story too. So I don't have an athletic bone in my body.
Okay.
When people see me, and I'm a heavier guy, I'm a big guy, I'm 6 foot, and well, I'm dropping now, I'm about 260, but everybody asks me if I played sports, played college ball. I get that asked quite a lot. No, I did not at all. I don't even watch sports. But what's funny is the only sport that I wanted to play growing up was baseball. And so I was too big, or my coach at the time there, the baseball coach, was like, "Oh no, you're too big. You need to go play football." I'm like, "Well, I don't want to play football, so
Yeah.
I ain't playing anything." So
That's funny, man. No, dude, yeah, no, I had the opportunity to play 1 year of college baseball, and then again, I just realized that I wasn't gonna, I didn't have the tools and the talents to make it to like the big league. So, yeah, man. But I think the one thing that I hope people kind of draw from my story, it's that like there's nothing special about me per se. If you ask my mom, like she's gonna disagree with you, right? But like I just the reason I got that deal closed, one, God's grace and his favor, but two, like I was just willing to like go through the muck and like just figure it out, and like the uncertainty, the uncomfortableness. I remember sitting down at the table of people that were behind on payments and like looking at their mortgage statements and like thinking to myself, well, this is the first time I look at a mortgage statement, right? And it's like me advising them, and like I felt awkward and uncomfortable, but because I had never been in that position, but I still was committed to the process. And no
sure.
matter what you do, I think if you're willing to just commit and figure out how to like embrace the process and the journey, then the outcome doesn't become so like intimidating to a certain degree. Like I wasn't putting pressure on myself of getting the deal. I was just in the moment trying to help people and figure it out as I grew in this business.
Mm. Man, that's a nugget right there, y'all. He focused on trying to help somebody. At the core of what I truly believe we do is we are building generational wealth by serving other people.
Yeah.
He wasn't focused on getting the deal, he was focused on serving. And the irony in that, in my opinion, when you focus on that serving aspect of it, it actually takes away any pressure of you needing to be some type of grand closer. I believe, and what do you, I'd be interested in your opinion, but I believe that people feel your energy,
Yes.
right? Like they know when you're coming in there and you're truly trying to help them. And
Yeah.
so, despite you not having all of the answers, even if you told them, "Hey, I'm not sure, I can get back with you," they didn't think any less of you because they knew you were there to help.
That's it. No, I don't have a different opinion. I echo every single word you just said, Clifford, because I heard recently is that if you obsess about the problems of your customers, and it kind of ties into that Zig Ziglar quote. If you help enough people get what they want, like everything you want is basically inevitable. And yeah, I don't know that I don't know that I would go as far and say that I obsessed about their problems, but I remember having a genuine heart for wanting to help these people going through this hardship, despite the fact that I felt ill-equipped to be able to do that. But what I hope people lean on is that very rarely are you going to have all the answers, and you're going to have clear, crystal clarity, and you're going to have all the tools and resources. Like trust that will unfold, and you will get what you need while you're going through something, right? It's the same thing when I transitioned into storage late 2020, beginning of 2021. It's Yeah, I had never closed on a storage facility. I've done a lot of single family, but storage was a little bit different. But I was committed to learning that business and learning the process and following a mentor's like blueprint and roadmap. And I just had trust and faith that things were going to work out if I just committed to the work.
Yeah, I love it. And so let's talk about that a little bit. What prompted that change? Because
Yeah.
I mean, you're rocking and rolling like 750 plus closed transactions is not a small feat to accomplish. Like you're rocking and rolling here to
Yeah.
say, okay, now I'm going to transition to storage. Like what prompted that?
Yeah, it's a loaded question, and it's got several layers to it. So I had started building a team in 2013. Okay, because I got to the point where I was a one-man show for the first probably 4 to 5 years of my career. And I remember I was single at the time, and I remember like I'd be on a date and my phone would be blowing up from like a direct mail campaign and being like, oh, I can't take that call, and feeling like this tug between like, so I was like, okay, like I got to get smarter here. I got to like bring people on to help me. So started doing that. And I remember fast forward to 2017, my wife and I were on a cruise, and I had a team of probably 6 or 7 people at that point. And I remember feeling like the business was no longer aligned with my vision, right? Like while I had a team that was doing the quote unquote heavy lifting, I didn't like the idea of like starting from scratch every single month. That's what it felt like. Like, and my business, if I'm being honest, was just like a roller coaster. Like I'd have great months, in some cases 6-figure months, and that might be followed by 1 or 2 months where I don't close a deal. And then boom, 4, 5, 6 deals a month, and then one deal. And it was like, I could never wrap my arms around the consistency of the business. So I told my wife in 2017, I'm like, something has to shift. Right. Like, yes, we're making a lot of money, and yes, I'm grateful for what wholesaling has provided for, our family. But it felt like I had created this business that felt like a prison, and I was trapped inside of it, and I didn't have the key to get out. So I had joined the high level mastermind 2017, and I saw people scale their wholesaling business. So I said, okay, well, I need to double down. I need to like increase my overhead and hire more people and get an office. And so I started doing that. And I also saw people, hey, I got to start buying rentals, right? Like, let me start building a rental. So I went all in late 2017, 2018. And then 2019 came, and I looked up and I'm like, this is not what I want. I had a handful of rental properties in Cleveland. I live in Miami, so we bought in the Midwest and started buying rentals thinking that was passive, when I quickly realized there's nothing passive about rentals, at least not the way I was doing it. And I had $40,000 to $44,000 a month in expenses, in overhead, and I had to close 2 deals a month just to break even and feed the team. And I'm like, I don't want this. Like this is dude, in 2019, Clifford, let me be super vulnerable with you. I made more money in 2006. Basically, I got in this business October of 2005. Mm-hmm. In 2006, I netted more than I did in 2019 with a team of 10 people.
Yeah.
Like I made more money by myself in 2006 than I did 700 plus deals later or whatever in 2019. And I'm like, this is broken. At least the way I'm running it. And I didn't feel like I was building a business that was sellable. There was just a lot of flaws in the way that I built it, even though we were making money. And I happened to be coaching somebody. I ran with a friend of mine. We ran a mastermind called Ascend at that time. And I was coaching somebody who had a storage facility. And, as you know, when you coach somebody, you get an inside look into the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
And I saw a business that provided cash flow. I saw a business that didn't require employees, didn't have high overhead, like all the pain points I was experiencing in my transactional wholesaling business, storage didn't have. And then I realized it's a real business that has the benefits of real estate, and it ultimately provides for time freedom, which is what this person I was coaching had. And I really started to research the asset class. And then when COVID came, I had already mentally made the decision, I'm going to unwind this operation. When COVID came, it was a blessing in disguise. I said, you know what? This is the push from God, at least in my brain. This is how I thought of it. This is the push from God to just unwind this thing. I'm going to burn the ships. So over the 3-month period, I literally like wound down the business. I didn't have a sellable business, but I did sell off some of the assets of the business, lists and things of that nature, domains. And my coach told me at the time, I was dealing with a little bit of imposter syndrome. I was like, man, like, what are people going to think? Like, and almost like an identity crisis. I had this, I was 6-7 years into my podcasting journey with the Flip Empire show. And I am worried about what other people are going to think of me because I closed down the business. I'm just being honest. Like, I was like, people are going to think I'm a failure. People are going to think. And then like through coaching and a lot of like just inner work, I'm like, first of all, I'm giving myself way too much importance. People aren't thinking about me. B, even if they are, who cares? Like I need to like be true to like what my path. And then I was encouraged to record a podcast episode, basically bearing all like, hey, here's why I made the decision to close down this business. And it was so freeing and liberating. I had so many people that you would probably know in terms of like educators and thought leaders that reached out to me and said, I feel the same way. Mm-hmm. Like, thank you for like kind of sharing that. So I'll kind of pause the story there. And well, I took some time off, and then later that year is when I committed to storage.
I love it. And you know what? I think people don't. Social media is both good and bad in a sense, especially in this, because we see some of the gurus and some of the people in our masterminds, and they're flexing, the Ferraris and the watches and the lifestyle and all of this other stuff, and not knowing all of the chaos that's going on behind with trying to build a team and run a team and all of that stuff. It's a lot, and people don't realize that it
That's
really
right.
is a lot. So again, I commend you for saying, you know what, just aligning yourself with your core values, because even for me, I don't want to have the largest wholesaling company.
Right.
Like, that is not my goal. That is not my intent in any form or fashion, right? Not only am I doing wholesaling, I run a nonprofit, and we do our community work, and I like messing around with cattle and ranching, and right, like, no, I want to stay true to how I want to live my life. So
Yeah, and there's so much wisdom in what you just shared, Clifford, because I don't I don't know that I was mature enough at that point to realize that, and it took having the right people around me, certain coaches and just people in my inner circle that said, "Hey man, like follow the direction you feel God wants you to go in, and if this is just if this is not doing it for you, like move on." You
yeah,
know, and so it was I learned a lot going through that process. I really did. And yeah, man, now I'm just like I've never looked back. And look, some people have asked me like, man, COVID like exploded real estate, as you know.
mm-hmm.
And I had friends of mine that are still wholesaling to this day here locally that were killing it,
Yeah.
wholesaling it. And I had every now and then I have one of them ask me like, "Do you regret it?" And I'm like, "Nope, never looked back." Like I have zero regrets. In fact, maybe it's the pendulum has almost swung too far the other way that like I have no desire to like really get back into wholesaling. And then ironically, here's the irony of all this.
Uh-huh.
My very first storage deal was a wholesale. My very first storage. That's the irony of all that. Like I got away from that business, got into storage because I wanted cash flow and time freedom, but it just didn't fit like my buy box. And we ended up wholesaling that deal. And the cool thing is I retained some equity in that deal, which I still own to this day. So I was able to get a nice wholesale fee and get a little piece of the deal, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome. What was I going to say on that? So for somebody like myself, let's kind of break the storage system down. Number one, I guess it sounds like it doesn't take a massive team for you to start getting deals and acquire deals
at all. So I'm glad you asked that question because that's one of the beliefs that people have that is just not true. When I got into this business, I remember I came from a team of 9-10 people, which to me, that's a big team. To others, that's nothing. You know, it's all relative. But to me, that was a big team and 40-45 grand a month in overhead. And I said, I'm going to keep this so simple, stupid. Like it's just going to be me. I'm not going to go crazy with the systems and the bells and the whistles and the CRMs and all the stuff that I did in my wholesaling business. I said, I'm going to keep this simple, like little to no overhead. And I'm going to do three things. I'm going to send out direct mail. And the cool thing about storage is I was sending out 35, 40,000 postcards a month in my single family business. In storage, I might send out 300-400 a month, right? Like it's much more targeted. So I had little to no overhead. I said, I'm going to do deals by direct mail, cold calling, and relationships. I'm just going to focus on those three channels. And yeah, man, I don't, up until 2 months ago, I had 838 units. I sold one of my storage facilities. So now I have two, but at no point have I had any employees while I was building that. Now I have a personal assistant, right? Which I brought on earlier this year. But the first 2.5, 3 years of my kind of storage journey, I didn't have any employees, man. I didn't have any employees. I had very little overhead. And once I had the portfolio, I might spend an hour and a half to 2 hours a week on it. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, so now I don't want to set the wrong expectation. I spent a lot of time and energy to find the right opportunities, right? And to go through that whole process. But once I got them and then they get to a point of what we call stabilization, right? Where the occupancy is in a pretty healthy place. It's a pretty semi-passive business.
Nice. I love it. So it sounds like you do, I mean, you said the marketing, so you're just calling old established storage units.
Yeah. So what I do is, I could actually, I could hop on and actually like show you on Google Maps. But essentially, what I do is, let me kind of paint the picture of like what I look for. I look for mom and pop operated storage facilities that are in secondary or rural markets. And when I mean secondary, like think cities that have a population between 1,000 and 60,000 people. I like to be in cities where the population is increasing over time, and then I like to be in cities that have a medium household income of 50,000 or greater.
I'm taking notes on this, y'all.
Okay. Oh, and I lost you. You're somewhere on my screen. I have a million like screens open, but I lost you somewhere. But as long as you can hear me, we're good.
Yeah, we can hear and see you. We're good. But like
Okay.
while you're talking, I'm taking notes because I genuinely love the idea of storage units. And see, I think like I love real estate investing in general. And why I love it so much is because there's so many branches that you can branch off in, from land to storage units to commercial to massive developments, right? Like
Yep.
wholesaling. I do believe that for many of us, and I know many of my listeners, like wholesaling can be a great entry to get you going and get you experience. But if that's not in alignment with what the end goal is, like we should be pivoting and leveraging things like storage units, right? Because even you mentioned earlier, rental properties, we have rentals. It's not exactly the way people make it think, right?
Nope.
Like there's going to be months where, um, it's going to be vacant. You're going to have to do touch ups. It's not what people think. Oh, let me buy 10 rentals and I'm cash flowing $10,000 a month. Like,
Yeah. No, I mean, to the point, Clifford, that, when we would generate, I don't know, anywhere between $200 and $400 a month in cash flow. And then all of a sudden I got a work order and I have to replace a furnace, or, now the roof is like, and then my cash flow would be gone for the month. Or I'm sorry, for the year, not for the month. My cash would be gone for the year. And I just quickly realized, like, we had people in our mastermind that had rental portfolios of 100+ units. And it was a bear, like in-house property management. And this, I'm like, for me, yes, you can build wealth through rentals, but for me, storage just made a lot more sense. And one of the things that I really loved about the storage business, Clifford, is it's a business with the benefits of real estate, and it's a very sticky product, right? Like when somebody moves into a storage facility, into a unit, like they tend to stay a long time and they pay month after month after month. In fact, the average length of stay for our customers is over 3 years. Right?
I believe that 1,000%. I know just off the top, like 3 or 4 family members that have storage units, and they've had them forever.
Yeah. It's not uncommon. And here's the cool thing. Like I'm not dealing with tenants. I'm not dealing with toilets. I'm not dealing with trash. I've done my fair share of fix and flip. I'm not a very good rehabber. Like, so the maintenance and the repairs, what we call CapEx, capital expenditures, that's very low. So it just, the asset class was very much aligned with like what I was looking for long term. But here's the crazy thing, man, and we can continue to talk about storage because I truly believe, and I might be biased, but I truly believe storage is the best asset class out there if what you're ultimately after is time freedom. Real estate, storage, real estate, it's just a vehicle that allows me to like impact and pour into people's lives, right? Like I enjoy it, I like it, but like if I wasn't getting paid doing real estate, would I keep doing real estate? I don't know, probably not. But I would happily for free hop on these types of calls so that I can give back. And so real estate just happens to be the vehicle, and specifically storage, that I'm choosing to really go deep on because I just know it can impact people's lives and completely change their life. And in storage, I'm not looking for 4, 5, 6 deals a month. I'm looking for 1 or 2 good ones a year. That's it.
That's it. I love it. Last thing on storage, and I do kind of want to pivot a little bit.
Yeah.
So how much money do I need to have? That's the question that's in everybody's mind, right? I'm sure I need to have at least several million in the bank before I get a storage unit, right?
Nope. So check this out. I have done now, I've been involved in 6 storage deals. Ask me, and by the way, I can't see you. I have a lot of like Google Chrome tabs open, and I had some sort of update, and I lost you. But I'm just gonna keep looking at my.
We see you perfectly clear. I want
All
you to
right,
know
cool.
that
So
your screen has not changed.
just know I can't see you and your reactions and all that. So I'll just keep looking right at you. But I have used zero of my own dollars to get involved in any of these deals.
That's
The
insane.
biggest thing holding people back from getting involved in storage is the belief that you need to have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to do it. Do not get intimidated by the fact that it's a larger commercial asset or a building and a business. Like, guys, I am not special. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. Like, anybody can do this business. What I wish I knew, Clifford, that now I know that I didn't when I first decided to get involved in storage, is that the skill sets that we learn and acquire and use in the single family business translate very well over into storage.
Nice.
From the marketing that we do to the conversations we have to how we negotiate, the slight difference in nuances and how you evaluate the deal. Because in storage and in commercial, the value is not based on comparable sales. The value is based on the net operating income. In other words, the income that the asset produces.
Yeah.
I truly believe that people can continue to like work their single family business and add storage just by making a few tweaks, and it's not a shiny object syndrome. So I have closed deals with seller financing. I've closed deals by raising private money. I've closed deals with bringing on equity partners and giving them a piece of the deal. I've even gotten SBA financing. My very first deal, we got the Small Business Administration. We got 85% financing from the SBA because SBA likes storage because it's an actual business.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't, please, like, if you get anything from this podcast, don't feel that you need to have a bunch of money. Now, if you have access to money or if you have some money, does it open up a few more doors? Sure. But that is no reason, if you don't have money, that you can't get involved in storage.
Nice. One thing that I've learned too about real estate investing is that there's typically always a way to get creative. Like, everything's figure outable. Like, just get creative and make it happen. But just hearing you, and it's funny when you say that the single family stuff just kind of transitions into storage unit. So I have a interview Friday with a new acquisitions guy that's going to be coming on board. My mind automatically went to where, can I have him cold calling storage units? Like, that's just what he does. And where it doesn't distract us from the main thing either. Like,
yeah,
that's what my mind is telling me I should be doing.
Clifford, we should talk, man, because there's just a few tweaks. It is the same thing. From driving to dollars to Google flying for dollars to cold calling to direct mail, like everything we do in single family, there's nothing different in storage, right? Sometimes we work with realtors in single family. Sometimes we work with storage brokers in storage. Like, it's the same exact thing. It's understanding how to evaluate the deal that's a little bit different. But outside of that, there's not a whole lot of differences.
So I want to come on here, and I'm saying this publicly, loud on here. It's in the
talk to me.
I want to close my first storage unit in 2025.
Oh, I love it, dude. I love it. So, man,
I want to, and I know we're kind of talking about this. Do you host like webinars or masterclasses or mentorships about getting started in this?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I appreciate the opportunity to kind of quickly share on this. My calling, like I mentioned earlier, is to pour an impact into people's lives. I launched a coaching community called Storage Wins, and the singular goal of this community is to help take people that are willing to be committed to it from where they are to closing on their first storage facility within 6 to 12 months. And so we have a community. We do weekly 90-minute group coaching calls where we walk people through the process. There's accountability, there's community relationships, there's all the resources and tools you need. And I've approached this by keeping it simple, right? Like, we're not going to go crazy with a bunch of marketing dollars and systems and all this overhead. It's like there's very specific metrics or KPIs, key performance indicators, that we hold people accountable to, because when someone makes an investment to join our community, like I need to see them through the finish line. They
Sure.
just have to be like committed to the process and willing to do the work. So yeah, man, absolutely. And then, I put out a lot of content lately on storage. In fact, if you guys send me a text message, I'm going to give you my phone number here in a second. If you send me a text message with the word storage and then put Clifford in parentheses, okay, that way I know that you heard me on Clifford's podcast. I will send you over some like valuable training and resources, like zero strings attached, right? Like there's 100% free. I'll send you the direct mail letter that I use to get storage deals. In fact, the last wholesale deal I did was $150,000 profit that came from that letter.
Wow.
I should say I've talked to an attorney that says, hey, when you share these things, like always share results are not typical. Like you're never going to make any money from storage. Like, so that's a disclaimer, right? This is my experience. But I'm happy to share with you a bunch of resources. Text me the word storage with Clifford's name, 305 318 6213. 305 318 6213.
I love it. I hope that's not your personal number.
You'd be surprised.
Oh.
You'd be surprised.
I used to do that all the time, get my personal number out, and it would drive my wife insane. She hated it.
Yeah.
But,
Man, you know what I have found is again like that. If that doesn't prove I'm keeping things simple, like I don't have this crazy like fancy automated like funnel and this and that. It's like, man, let me just keep saying. Now, what I will do is once you text me, I'm gonna quickly connect you with my assistant so that she can send you the resources. But I'm happy to engage with you and answer questions you have, and if you're interested in like taking that step further, we can just schedule a call and see if it's a fit.
No, I love it, brother. And so we'll put that in the description for people to reach out to you. I'm definitely excited to learn more about it, me personally, and see how I can start throwing these in the bag. I actually think it'll be an amazing strategy. Now, speaking of wife, now, how long have you been married?
I've been married 11 years. We just celebrated our 11-year anniversary in September.
Let's go.
Yeah, brother, 11 years.
I want to definitely acknowledge Miss Natalie, the wife, your wife. I believe that marriage is not celebrated the way that it should be. I do. It just is not. Y'all, sometimes it is easier to leave. Right?
Like it's not always easy. That's the truth.
To make a marriage work through every season, right? Over a decade of 11 different seasons, or more than 11 seasons, but you get the point I'm trying to make, right? It takes energy, it takes work, it takes commitment, it takes trust. There's so much in that. And so, yeah, I just honestly wanted to celebrate that and highlight that. So many people just don't do that enough. We want to highlight the BS on social media, but let's celebrate those that say, you know what? Despite me being mad, I'll see you tonight, right? To say we're gonna get through this one more day. So
that's right, man. That's right. Yeah.
How has the wife played a role in this? Does she work with the company?
She does not. My wife doesn't have a business bone in her body. But I'll tell you what, she has something far more valuable, and that's just she's like the rock, man. She's the support system. One of the things I'll share with you that I think has been really helpful, not just in our relationship, but like in my journey, I do believe in seasons of hustle, right? Like there's seasons where we're starting something from the ground up that we need to get after it. But that, to me, that shouldn't be a lifestyle. Like that's not what I want. Like I'm not the grind your face off 18 hours a day for the next decade. Like man, I never want to take for granted the time I have with my children, my 2 girls, my wife, my family. We love to travel. We love to create memories. And yes, I work hard, and I'm there for our clients, and I'm building a business. But openly communicating with her when I'm in a certain season where I'm like putting the head down. It's not that I'm abdicating any other responsibilities and I'm saying, hey, take it. But I do find that it's very helpful when she knows, like she knows today is like my podcast day. Like this is my fourth podcast that I've been on, right? Like she knows, hey, there's probably not a whole lot of text messaging going on during the day. But she also knows that Friday's a lot lighter for me. And so just openly communicating like what's kind of like on my radar and what's on the agenda.
Yeah.
And then making sure that, and I haven't always been the best at this, but I'm more mindful of it now, is to, when I'm done, like to leave my business and work there and then like be as present as I can for the family. And there's been times, Clifford, where, you know, man, I'll quickly share a story with you that that's tough, man. Even to this day, I kind of feel like some type of way and a little emotional about it. This was in 2017, which coincidentally was the time where I was like feeling like, man, I'm trapped in this business. I specifically remember, check out how strategic and slick I think I am. And to this day, there's like some pain associated with it. I wish I could see you right now, by the way. In 2017, my daughter was 2 years old. I'm in the playroom with her in our previous home. I'm in the playroom with her, and I have my phone just kind of like I'm kneeling down, and she's like running around. She's 2 years old, you know, so she's like kind of like jogging around, whatever, and we're playing. And I have my phone next to me, and I just keep seeing, like, I make the mistake of not flipping my phone this way, but like leaving it up so I can see the screen. And I keep seeing Podio messages, boop, 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 like just a bunch of Podio messages pop up. And usually that means it's a lead or the team is updating a lead record or there's something going on. And I see like 8 or 9 Podio, boop, boop, boop. And this is like, I don't know, it's like 5:40 something in the afternoon, right? Early evening. And I remember strategically grabbing the ball that her and I were playing with and throwing it across the house so she would run and go get it. So I had enough time to grab my phone and see what was going on.
Oh.
And dude, like I felt so much guilt about that after the fact that it just like, it was so sobering. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? Like literally I'm intentionally having my daughter go away just so I could like get the fix of looking at my phone to see like what's going on. And dude, it was sobering for me. I'm like, I got to do something, man. So for a period, I kind of experimented with like leaving the phone in the other room and just being present and connected. And again, man, am I on point 100% of the time where I completely check out? No, like that would be a lie to say that, but I'm much more mindful of it now. And even now and then it's still, you know, something bouncing around here. So I've implemented this system with my assistant that we call open loops and closed loops. So before the end of the day, I'll send her a voucher with any open loops I have. Hey, what about this? What about that? And then it's her job to put that in Trello and to document it so that in my mind, once I drop that Voxer, like the loop is closed and it has helped me just kind of disconnect so that I could just be present and focus on the family. So I don't know, man. I wasn't thinking I'd share that story, but it came up for me and I wanted to share that because I'm certain people are listening to this that maybe at times struggle with being present.
Yeah. And I think it's not about being on point 100% of the time, 1,000% of the time. And it's just about getting a little bit better at things every single day. And the irony, and this is something that hits hard with me sometimes, is that had to happen for you to wake up to realize. Because had you not done that, it probably wouldn't have brought it to your attention. So just praise God that you were like, you know what? Oh man, come on.
Exactly right. I looked at myself in the mirror. I'm like, what's going I was like, what's wrong with you? It's like this guilt that I felt for doing that. But anyways, man, like, look, that story now can hopefully, like, if it can just help one person avoid that, then it's worth having gone through that pain, you know?
Oh, for sure. And because there's some guys right now that don't do it. They're constantly go, go, go. Even for me, I have to try to get a little bit better at that. I'm definitely guilty of it where I'm just
I'll share this really quick. I'm so hyper like aware that, as cliche as it sounds, man, like we're not promised anything. No. And I don't take for granted that, like, I'm going to have all this time with my kids because, man, I have a few friends that have lost children, and I can't imagine that unbearable pain. And I don't want to take those things for granted, man. And nobody listening or watching this should take that for granted. Like, so, man, hug your loved ones, like try to be as present as possible, like get after it business wise and do your thing because they rely on you. But when you're with them, like be with them, you know, like right now I'm here with you. I'm not like there with them. You know what I mean? So like when you're doing what you're doing, like focus on that, but compartmentalize.
And I think that's a good way. I know we've been going kind of long, but a good way to kind of round things up, y'all. Like, remember, hustle in seasons, right? And if you're starting your storage journey or real estate investing journey, like, okay, if we need to knuckle down and hustle for this season, but at the same time, let's make sure that we're present with those that we love, because tomorrow isn't promised, and that we're not taking it to the extreme. But thanks so much, brother, again, for being generous with your time and being here with us and chatting with us. Y'all, we'll put all his contact information in the description. Give him a holler, and y'all take this challenge with me. If you're with me, comment below that you're with me, that we'll close our first storage unit in 2025. So y'all put that comment below and let me know if you're in this thing with me.
Let's get it, guys.
Thanks again.
No, man, thank you. And guys, shoot me that text if you want those resources. 305-318-6213. So thank you, Clifford. Appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir. Later, bud.
Later, man.